I was frightened, just like you are now. But I listened to him. This is paradise! How can't you see that? You don't get it. So there you are.
2025 has some seriously good horror games coming out. We're halfway through the year, but there are still 10 incredible horror titles set to release. I've put together 10 games for you, so let's dive in. All right, starting us off at number 10, we have Displacement. And honestly, this first-person survival horror from Obelisk Studio has caught my attention in ways I wasn't expecting. So, picture this. You're playing as a psychologist who finds themselves at this completely isolated polar station where all the staff have basically lost their minds to some mysterious madness. And look, we've all seen this setup before, but trust me, Displacement is doing something different here. What really got me excited about this one is how the gameplay literally evolves with your mental state. You start off as this typical survival horror experience, right? You're investigating, you're scared, you're trying to figure out what the hell happened. But as your character's sanity starts slipping away, the game transforms into something much more visceral and action-oriented. The developers have gone for this incredibly immersive approach. No HUD, no interface cluttering up your screen. It's just you, your breath fogging up in the cold, and this genuinely unsettling atmosphere. Plus, they've added this temperature system where the cold becomes your biggest enemy, and you'll actually need to manipulate object temperatures to solve puzzles and survive. This is actually Obelisk Studio's debut title, which is pretty impressive considering the scope of what they're attempting. I'll be honest, we don't have a confirmed release date yet, but everything I've seen so far suggests this could be a real sleeper hit for horror fans. Sometimes, the best scares come from the studios you least expect, and Displacement is definitely one to watch in 2025.
Anna? Are you okay?
Coming in at number 9, we have Tormented Souls 2, and honestly, if you're craving that authentic 90s survival horror experience, this sequel is absolutely delivering what classic horror fans have been waiting for. So Caroline Walker is back, and look, she just can't catch a break. After surviving the nightmare at Wildberger Hospital, she's hoping for a normal life with her sister Anna. But of course, things go sideways pretty fast when Anna starts having these terrifying visions and creating disturbing drawings that somehow start manifesting into reality. This sends Caroline on another desperate journey, this time to Villa Hesse, a remote town nestled in the mountains of southern Chile. What she finds there is this mysterious convent turned clinic run by a secretive sisterhood. And yeah, when you've got nuns with hidden agendas, you know things are about to get really dark really fast. What I genuinely love about Tormented Souls 2 is how Dual Effect Games is completely committed to that old school survival horror formula. We're talking fixed camera angles, tank controls if you want them, limited saves. They're bringing back everything that made those classic Resident Evil and Silent Hill games so memorable. The game is set to be 3 times longer than the original, which is pretty impressive considering they're expanding the scope while keeping that intimate horror atmosphere. You'll be exploring monasteries, abandoned schools, derelict shopping malls, basically a whole town's worth of nightmare fuel. And look, I know the fixed camera thing isn't for everyone, but there's something about that perspective that just creates this unique sense of dread and vulnerability that modern horror games sometimes struggle to capture. October 23rd, 2025 is the release date, so classic horror fans definitely have something to look forward to. At number 8, we have We Harvest Shadows, and honestly, this might be one of the most emotionally complex horror experiences coming our way in 2025. So here's what makes this game absolutely fascinating. It's basically a farming simulator that doubles as a psychological horror allegory. You're playing as Garrett, this guy who's completely done with city life and human connection, so he buys this massive abandoned farm in Appalachian wilderness to basically disappear from the world forever. The developer is blending these two completely different gameplay styles. During the day, you're doing typical farming stuff, fixing up your house, caring for livestock, chopping trees, managing resources. It's actually pretty relaxing and therapeutic, which is exactly what Garrett needs, right? But then night falls, and that's when things get genuinely unsettling. The game shifts into this slow burn psychological horror where mysterious entities start stalking the property, and here's the brilliant part. You're not sure if these supernatural threats are real or if they're manifestations of Garrett's deteriorating mental state. The creator, David Wheely, is going for this neo-horror approach focused on atmosphere over jump scares. With 500 plus acres to explore, what's really compelling is how the farming mechanics aren't just busy work. They're actually tied to Garrett's psychological well-being. Keeping your house clean and organized literally helps prevent hauntings and maintain your sanity. It's this perfect metaphor for how routine and purpose can be anchors when you're struggling with depression. The demo's already available and getting great feedback. Plus, it's confirmed for 2025 on PC with consoles following. This is definitely one for people who want their horror games to have genuine emotional depth. Coming in at number 7, we have Directive 8020, and if you've been craving some genuine sci-fi horror with that classic who can you trust paranoia, Supermassive Games is about to deliver something really special. So here's the setup. Earth is basically dying, and humanity's last hope is this planet called Tau Ceti F that's 12 light years away. The colony ship Cassiopeia crashes on this planet, and the crew quickly realizes they're not alone. There's this alien organism that can perfectly mimic its prey, which means anyone around you could be a deadly imposter. This is basically Supermassive's take on John Carpenter's The Thing, and honestly, that concept translates perfectly to their choice-driven horror formula. You're playing as multiple characters, including Brianna Young, who's portrayed by Lashana Lynch, and every decision you make could mean the difference between survival and becoming alien food. The developer has completely rebuilt their stealth and camera systems for this one. You're not just making dialogue choices anymore. You're actively sneaking through dark corridors, trying to avoid detection while figuring out who among your crew has been replaced by these shape-shifting aliens. Supermassive is calling it threatening exploration, where direct combat isn't really an option. You've got improvised weapons and your wits, but mostly you're trying to outsmart these creatures rather than fight them head on. Plus, they've added this new turning points feature that lets you rewind to pivotal moments if things go south. Look, the Dark Pictures games have been hit or miss for some people, but the concept here is solid. Alien body horror, paranoia, and that signature Supermassive branching narrative could make for something genuinely tense. October 2nd, 2025 on PC, PlayStation 5, and Xbox Series. Definitely one to watch if you're into sci-fi horror. At number 6, we have The Sinking City 2, and Frogwares is making a massive genre pivot that's going to completely redefine Lovecraftian horror gaming. The original Sinking City was detective adventure with horror flavoring, but this sequel, pure survival horror excellence. We're witnessing a studio courageously transforming their entire approach. Combat and exploration take center stage while investigation becomes this brilliant optional reward system. Picture this: flooded ruins of Arkham, 1920s setting, supernatural disasters turning the entire city into an eldritch nightmare playground. Frogwares upgraded to Unreal Engine 5, delivering this incredible atmospheric presentation where rising waters constantly reshape the decaying urban landscape. Combat gets serious attention here. No more point-and-click mystery solving. You're actively battling Lovecraftian abominations with authentic period firearms. Shotguns, pistols, everything you need while managing precious resources and smart inventory decisions. The investigation mechanics? Absolutely genius design choice. Players who invest time piecing together environmental clues unlock secrets, alternate progression paths, and deeper lore. These eureka moments become genuine gameplay rewards rather than mandatory objectives. Frogwares launched a Kickstarter campaign supporting additional features while navigating ongoing challenges in Ukraine. The campaign's explosive success proves the gaming community recognizes this bold, creative direction, targeting 2025 across PC, PlayStation 5, and Xbox Series platforms. When film industry veterans decide to make a horror game, you know something special is brewing. It's being developed by Team Clout, a studio with serious Hollywood credentials, including work on acclaimed films like Longlegs, It, Welcome to Derry, and Azrael, and they're bringing that cinematic expertise directly into the interactive medium. What makes Ill absolutely fascinating is how it's approaching horror from a filmmaker's perspective. We're talking about professionals who understand visual storytelling, atmospheric tension, and psychological manipulation at the highest level. Set in a dark, abandoned fort overtaken by a mysterious entity, the game promises visceral, first-person survival horror with an advanced dismemberment system powered by Unreal Engine 5. The developers aren't just relying on jump scares, they're crafting sustained psychological dread with unpredictable monsters and realistic physics that make every encounter feel genuinely terrifying. The game features a special binaural audio system that makes you feel the agony in every scream, creating an atmosphere of relentless horror. The film industry background really shows in their approach to environmental storytelling and creature design. These grotesque monsters can be mutilated and torn apart in disturbing detail, with ripped flesh, exposed bones, and visceral realism that pushes the boundaries of the genre. Published by Munfish Powerhouse, Ill represents a bold fusion of cinematic horror expertise and cutting-edge game technology. When film professionals bring their A-game to gaming, magic happens. Coming in at number 4, get ready to lock and load because Killing Floor 3 is bringing the most intense co-op horror action we've ever seen. Mark your calendars for July 24th, 2025 because this is going to be an absolute blood-soaked masterpiece. The Killing Floor series has always been about that perfect balance between horror atmosphere and adrenaline-pumping action, and the third installment is cranking everything up to 11. We're talking about refined co-op mechanics that make teamwork not just helpful, but absolutely essential for survival. What's got me incredibly excited is how they're expanding the horror elements while maintaining that signature frantic action. The Zed creatures are more terrifying than ever, with improved AI that makes them feel genuinely unpredictable and threatening. The weapon customization system has been completely overhauled, giving players unprecedented control over their arsenal. Whether you're the team's designated medic, the heavy weapons specialist, or the precision marksman, every role feels crucial and distinct. Originally slated for March 2025, Tripwire Interactive delayed the game after beta feedback showed they missed the mark, but that extra development time is clearly paying off. Taking the number 3 spot, the Little Nightmares series has redefined what atmospheric horror can be, and Little Nightmares 3 is about to take that legacy to incredible new heights. Releasing on October 10th, 2025, perfect timing for Halloween season, this game is introducing cooperative gameplay for the first time in the series. What makes this announcement so thrilling is how perfectly co-op fits the Little Nightmares formula. The series has always been about vulnerability, isolation, and that feeling of being completely powerless in a hostile world. Now imagine sharing that experience with a friend, supporting each other through genuinely terrifying moments while still maintaining that signature sense of dread. You'll be playing as Lo and Alone, two best friends who each possess unique tools. Lo wields a bow, while Alone carries a wrench. The artistic direction continues to be absolutely stunning. That distinctive Tim Burton-esque aesthetic is more refined than ever, creating environments that are simultaneously beautiful and deeply unsettling. The cooperative mechanics aren't just tacked on, they're integral to the puzzle-solving and survival elements. Players will need to work together to overcome obstacles, but the game cleverly uses cooperation to create new types of tension. Sometimes helping your partner means putting yourself in danger, and those moments of difficult choice are where the real horror lies. Developed by Supermassive Games this time around, Little Nightmares 3 is proving that horror games can be both beautiful and terrifying, and sharing that experience with someone else might make it even more memorable. Claiming our number 2 spot is Cronos: The New Dawn from Bloober Team. And this time-traveling horror masterpiece is set to redefine what we expect from narrative-driven horror games when it launches fall 2025. Bloober Team has consistently delivered some of the most psychologically complex horror experiences in recent years, and this represents their most ambitious project yet. What immediately sets Cronos apart is its innovative approach to time manipulation as a core horror mechanic. Set in a grim world where Eastern European brutalism meets retro-futurist technology, you play as a traveler working for the mysterious Collective. You're tasked with scouring the wastelands of a dystopian future, searching for time rifts that transport you back to 1980s Poland, specifically the real Krakow district of Nowa Huta. This isn't just a gimmick. The dual timeline creates layers of psychological horror that build upon each other in genuinely disturbing ways. You're extracting the essences of people from the past who perished in an apocalyptic event called the Change. But these essences profoundly impact your journey. The more you carry, the more haunted your suit becomes, increasing your combat prowess while bringing whispers and visions that edge you closer to madness. The gameplay features brutal third-person survival horror with a unique merging mechanic. Fallen enemies can be absorbed by others to become faster, tougher, and deadlier. Your only defense? Burn their bodies before they merge into unstoppable abominations. Bloober Team's expertise in psychological horror really shines through in how they're handling this complex narrative. Rather than using time travel for action-oriented gameplay, they're leveraging it to create deeper emotional impact and existential dread. And taking our number 1 spot is Silent Hill F. The moment we've all been waiting for. This game is bringing the legendary franchise back to its roots with a Japanese horror renaissance that promises to be absolutely extraordinary. Releasing on September 25th, 2025, Silent Hill F isn't just another Silent Hill game. It's a complete reimagining that honors the series' psychological horror legacy. What makes Silent Hill F so incredibly special is how it's approaching the franchise's core themes through a distinctly Japanese lens. For the first time, we're leaving the titular American town behind and diving deep into 1960s Japan, specifically the fictional town of Ebisugaoka, inspired by the real-life Kanayama in Gifu Prefecture. You play as Hinako Shimizu, a high school student navigating her hometown as it becomes consumed by mysterious fog. The creature design draws inspiration from Japanese folklore and urban legends, creating monsters that feel genuinely rooted in specific cultural fears rather than generic horror tropes. Written by Ryukishi, the game is built around the Japanese horror concept of finding the terror in beauty. When something becomes too immensely beautiful and perfect, it becomes deeply unsettling. The legendary Akira Yamaoka returns to compose the music, bringing back that haunting audio landscape that defined the original games. Silent Hill F represents everything we love about the franchise while pushing into completely new territory. This is the Silent Hill renaissance we've been desperately waiting for. That's our countdown of the most anticipated horror games coming in 2025. Each one represents a different approach to scaring us, from co-op thrills to psychological masterpieces. Which one has you most excited? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more upcoming game coverage.